You? Oh, it was slow.
No,
We
you
didn't
don't have to
do
do
it
that
yet.
again. It's on YouTube, so like everybody can be seen because we're all so visual.
We're all here.
Yeah.
This is on
Okay.
YouTube, I better dress up.
Yeah.
I should hold my hair in case my
So,
fame
approval
takes
of minutes from the February 25th meeting.
I move to approve the minutes from the February 25th meeting.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I just have one question,
Oh.
but it's not
On the
anything
minutes?
major, but it's only because I wasn't here.
Well, we can't approve it until we're
Keith
done.
Anderson.
Keith Anderson is our maintenance person. He works in the maintenance department.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah, best maintenance person.
yeah, only because it says he oh, no, it doesn't say volunteer. Okay,
No.
perfect.
Is he the one fixing the soap?
Probably.
Yeah, okay, he was very nice.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Very.
I know everybody was going in the women's room, but there was a man in there. I said,
Okay,
well,
so,
Good thing it's a short meeting.
yeah,
amendment or approve, and then to approve the minutes for this meeting.
I move to approve the meeting agenda.
I seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moving right along, number 5. Oh, wait, persons to be heard related. So I thought someone said Joe was out here.
He comes in every day around this time.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Unrelated? Nope, nobody's here. All right, so we move on to staff reports, director's report. Please.
I should add, he is aware of the meeting. I did inform him that we will be meeting today.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, report. We were closed for inventory and that last month, we did a full inventory of the DVD and nonfiction collections and made progress on a couple of other special projects too. And so that was very good. And it's always just, it's a great team building thing for us all to work together.
Mhm.
Yes, we so rarely get to do that. Normally we're all over the place. So it was fantastic. We had a silent auction and Barb will talk a little bit of this when she
Yeah.
gets to the front stuff, but I wanted to single out this particular great thing. Beth Ford donated 5 paintings, which we auctioned off and raised $1,200 for their education endowment, and she's very generous. 7 more paintings, which we will, and beautiful. And
Yeah.
so we're excited to auction these off in the fall, and I was just talking to Marilyn, we're probably gonna do like a hybrid auction online and in person because it was so successful. We did a little Facebook thing
Yes.
right before the auction last time, and it drove the bids up and increased the visibility. So we're gonna try to get a little bit more into that.
So somebody's going to be on the computer out in at the front
We will
desk the
have
whole
the,
time.
the mechanics of it worked out.
Okay,
There's definitely
good.
gonna be some
Yeah.
issues that we need to work out because online, as Barb knows, online and
Yep.
in person at the same time creates potential problems. So we'll probably close bidding early on the online one.
That would be great. That's the way
The
to do
15-minute thing seemed to
Yeah.
work this time, so we'll work that.
And I was reminding Tara that the Lighthouse did it a few years ago. They had the online auction, so we don't have to reinvent anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're also,
They did it.
that was all online. This is
Right.
also people are
Hybrid.
here bidding. It's hybrid. That's different.
Yeah, although I think the Lighthouse didn't have a display of the works here.
Pardon me?
I think the Lighthouse had some of those
They
works on
did.
display.
Oh, they did.
They did.
Yeah.
Were
They
they
had,
bidding?
well, that part I don't know. She's
No,
gonna
I think
talk
that
to
you had to
somebody.
like scan the QR code.
Yeah, you had to do your
Something
QR
like
code.
that. I can talk to someone there about it.
And maybe that's better,
Yeah,
instead of having two separate things.
Except for people who come to the book sale who don't have their cell phone.
we will figure that out
Yeah.
in the fall when we go to our,
Yeah,
get ready for it. Yeah, there's a lot of details. to
there's some
work out.
cool ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really beautiful.
Oh, wow, I can't wait to see them.
They're in my office here.
Yeah.
We've done some safety enhancement. Finally, the 911 emergency button is now fully online. What an odyssey, Chris. Had to do a lot of
Wow.
troubleshooting to make that work and it's finally working. So there's a little button right under the front desk, which is great. Connects to the police department and we've tested it with them and we'll test it monthly. We also have posted behind Barb, you can see an emergency evacuation plan. Somehow after being in this building for 12 years, no one who ever came through to do safety checks ever told us that that's something we needed to do. I'm embarrassed to say I never thought of it myself. So it was pointed out to me and I'm really glad it was pointed out to me.
Yeah.
So they're posted throughout the facility now. And also, we now have 5 people on staff who are certified in first aid and CPR.
Good.
Yeah, so that's really great.
Hmm.
Do you
Um,
guys have a deep fit that
we do,
Oh,
we do.
where is it?
It's in the back in the center.
okay.
Yeah. In terms of what staff would actually do in the event of emergency, they're not really qualified to do hands-on. That would be a last resort situation. Really, their role is to manage that situation, not to actually be the first responder, because first responders have a lot more than an afternoon training session.
One would hope.
Although one of our staff is in fact a first responder for EMS. So, yeah, so we would rarely bring that out. That's almost more for staff
Oh.
or each other. And it is for the public.
Hope that impacts.
Yeah. So out of state interlibrary loan service, so it's made the news. I'm sure you guys have all heard the Institute for Museum and Library Services is officially defunct. We actually got our letter of termination of grant letter last week.
So they officially defunct it
Yes, it's officially gone.
and there's nothing more we can do.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I'd say
Okay.
you probably could go to the American Library Association website and they would give you, I'm sure there's still advocacy opportunities, definitely. if
Been
you're
making
interested.
With our
calls. I've
representative.
been left lots of
Yeah.
messages.
Yeah, yeah. Because it could be reinstated potentially, and so, yeah,
question.
yeah.
How many, you say it affects only a small number of patrons? Do a lot of people use the
Ah.
service for out of state?
Yeah, so interlibrary loan services, how that gets funded is, or how we use that service is somebody, is hired with IMLS money. Who works out of Anchorage and she does, interlibrary loans. For all the library, smaller libraries in state, and we've done that. It saved us a couple $1,000s to do that. And so we've had her doing it. She's going away as of June 30th. She's been cut. And so, only about a dozen or so people request books that we cannot get some other way every year. So the small number of people will be impacted by this particular.
But does she only do interlibrary loans out of state?
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
okay.
in state, we would use the Alaska Library Consortium.
So that's still in effect.
That's still in
Okay.
effect. Yes, yeah, that would be bad.
Is there
Yeah.
any federal funding behind that?
Not as far as I've been made aware. But sometimes pass-through grants happen and,
Yeah.
but I would hope at this point we would have been informed.
Okay.
Yeah,
I wonder if the out-of-state interdepartment loan can be done through the university system.
if they decide to take on small libraries.
Yeah.
Yeah, the trick is not violated because it's all done through something called OCLC, which is, I don't even tell you what that stands for. But you have to buy a subscription from OCLC and that's what connects libraries and their catalogs. And so what we had in the state was really great because rather than each individual library paying, which we used to. That staff person was paid, they had a subscription, they could serve all of us. I don't know how they configured that, but right now with where our budget's looking, the idea of going back to us paying for that OCLC service and doing like direct ILLs. It's just not worth it to
Yeah.
spend $3,000 a year
Yeah.
for a dozen. It was so much more cost effective to do it the way we have been doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
yeah. So that's, of course, that's only part of the IMLS cut. Make sure I'll talk about the next one during the library budget conversation. So, Barb Stelz. There's a few things that she's been up to. We had a team game night in February, which was a great success. They had it was like an anti-Valentine's Day theme. It's very clever and it was well attended.
Cool.
Yeah, it sounded like it was great. And they'll do those periodically, not every month, but sort of probably quarterly or whenever they have a
Nice.
holiday like Valentine's Day, which is kind of perfect for it.
Do you know what the ages of the kids that show up? Is it more preteen, teen, younger teens or?
Probably six, 7th, 8th grade, it's probably middle schoolish, maybe upper elementary.
Okay.
Bea Riley had a folk art committee class and that went well. And she's gonna, she has a watercolor workshop this coming weekend and there's still seats available. The Year of Reading Challenge continues with a small but enthusiastic group. And so Barb connects directly with those folks. Some of you might be in pool of people.
How long
Keep
does
going.
that go? To the end of the year?
All
It's fun. I'm in
So I
it.
Are
can
you
still
good?
join it.
It's
I
something
haven't
new to
yet.
do
You
every
can
month.
pop back out and in. Okay. National Library Week, we screened Free for All under the public library in partnership with Alaska Public Media, and thanks to the Friends for refreshments and Mary Ellen for
Mhm.
a fantastic job
Nice job.
introducing. Thank you. Barbara's also been doing crafty engineers, but it's on hold because the summer reading program planning is in full swing.
Yeah.
And
It's a
so
lot.
they'll be turning, her and Kara will be turning their efforts mostly towards that. Have been already. So Kari, what does she have to report? Yeah, I won't read all of that, but I'll give you some highlights. So children's room is being sort of shuffled around a little bit to support better engagement and independent exploration, as well as we're always in, because it's so heavily used by little hands.
Mhm.
You know,
Quite a
I,
mess.
Yeah.
So, we're constantly trying to figure out ways to mitigate that. Yeah.
I like what she's doing with putting them in bins, because when I was in Bellingham with Vance and we went to the library, they had bins of books, and then I came here, the first time I came here, I was like, well, it's kind of hard, they're on the shelf and they can't really see except the backs, and that isn't good enough for little, for 2-year-olds or
Yeah.
3-year-olds.
And these are like little beginning chapter book readers that kids start to read themselves, and so they look great in those bins.
Yeah,
Would you-
are they gonna, is she gonna do board books too in the bins?
I think so, but.
Because that
I'll get
was what really was
Yeah,
good
I
for
think so.
them, yeah.
I think you had something.
You said they're heavily used by who, what,
Children,
Children.
Little hands.
Little hands.
hands?
busy
people.
little hands
Yeah.
moving things from place to place.
Yes, I think it's
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
messy in there.
I've been in there in those little busy hands, they belong to some of my grands.
Yeah.
Those kids can unload a shelf faster.
One time I had a student reorganize my entire mammal section by color without me knowing. It was like.
Like
That's hilarious, that's
She
fun,
wanted all the blue books together.
yeah.
She was very busy and
She
quick.
matches perfectly
Yeah,
with
right.
interior decorator now.
The moms told me that they really appreciate that room.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
It's really set up for early childhood education.
Yeah, it's
Like, it's not so much like a library as it is like an
Yeah.
activity center, which is, has its
Fantastic.
drawbacks sometimes, but ultimately it's what we want to do. That's
Oh, but
what we
they're
wanna
spread,
keep
little
it.
spread out, that means it's room for more than.
Yes,
That's right.
exactly.
Yes.
Because they're surrounded by books.
And they have books in their hands and.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Okay, Marianne Rainey has been doing sewing and beading workshops. Yes, that'd be great. We've been offering these free to seniors. And it's really neat to see just different people coming in and doing the activities, and Deborah, you participated? in one?
I have,
Yeah,
I did on both of them,
oh, good, good.
yeah. After the meeting, I'll show you a picture of my auntie getting her Valentine heart from me.
Oh,
Oh, that's great. Okay, so yeah, Marianne's doing a great job, and we're just getting a few different folks come through the doors and participate in programs, and so that's really nice. And
Yeah.
and also that goal to target seniors or just people over 55 is being achieved with this particular program, so it's good. Little community is being created in these programs.
mhm.
Rainforest Writers wrapped up another season, with great success, and we have a couple, as you will see in our funding request for the art education endowment coming up this summer that we're hoping to offer. Baby Raven Reads 2-year grant partnership is over. I think our last one is going to be this weekend at the elementary school as part of the fair that they're going to do there. And so Brandy Happy has been a wonderful partner in this particular program. And so we think, even with the end of the grant, we're kind of thinking that we will probably like to continue to offer it into the future. Because all this curriculum material has been built.
Mhm.
And so I think we'll continue to do it because it's very valuable.
Yeah.
I've been to 2 of them with the youngest grand.
Yeah.
Of course, he's like, but I mean, she does a really good job. She's reading and she reads book and kids are interacting with her, and then there's always all these great crafts.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, and
She's doing a good
without,
job.
they used to have the great program in the elementary that went all throughout, and that hasn't been done for years, so this is really important.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that program come back, but that's not the library.
Yeah. For now, the Baby Raven Reads has been great, and
That's been once a week, right?
it's about once a month
Once a month.
on Saturdays.
Randy really is, Head Start,
Mhm.
is that right?
Also
Yeah.
under threat.
I know, I'm worried about that.
I was hoping Kari was gonna be,
At the meeting?
yeah, cause I thought she was gonna talk about all this stuff, cause I know she's really in touch with Head Start and Brandy,
Mhm.
who she says who is like a masterful
Mhm.
developer and really effective with kids. And her program is, is really effective. And then there's, cause I was wondering what was gonna go on with the food program this summer. And I know that there'd been some, integration before, but that kind of wasn't happening anymore. And then what else is there besides Head Start? There's
For children's programs,
the what?
for children's programs?
Yeah, cause there's two other daycares, right?
Called Monsters or something?
Yes.
Or Munsters.
Yeah,
Monsters.
Monsters.
Children's Center and Good Beginning.
Yeah.
Well, or are you talking about the ones outside?
Oh,
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten. That's
Oh,
awesome.
Kindergarten, that's right, that's what I was thinking of, I know, cause they got kind of, they kind of overwhelmed the system a little bit, I remember. And which is a different, so it's a different thing, but it's, I mean, I was just wondering what was going on. Is there a lunch program this year?
I don't think so, but we're
I
not really
think
that
for
far.
the school summer lunch, I just saw it, they posted, they plan to do the free lunch at school.
Good.
But I don't know if we're partnering with them again this
Yeah.
year. I think they're just working on the programming aspect now.
Mhm.
Wasn't there a pickup at the library for that
That
lunch?
was a
program?
couple years ago.
Right,
During
I think
COVID.
you're talking about that, somebody went and read at the
Yeah.
breakfast or
Well,
lunch.
there was actually a pre-reader program
Oh, that's right.
at the breakfast, I think.
Yeah.
So there was a come early and, and help you read or read to you or whatever.
I think it might look a little different this year. I think Kari might be doing like a read with a dog kind of thing.
Better than cat. Gee,
What's wrong with cats?
That's a
I
conversation.
just.
for-
Yeah,
That's why I brought it.
Would you add that to the agenda, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta keep moving.
So the summer stream program, is gonna have a few changes this year, but not too many. One of them is that they're gonna be doing like a trading cards, is that the right language? Like Pokemon type.
Yeah.
Cards called Reading Dragons, and we're gonna do weekly incentives rather than big prizes again this year, because those were really popular.
Cool.
And we're gonna do a custom hoodie, featuring the Reading Dragons graphic, which now I wish I would have brought, because it's really cool. And if you wanna buy one, you can buy one at Homeport Electronics,
Oh,
but
nice.
the kids
Cool. There
get
you go,
to
yeah.
buy to win them. So,
And your name.
And your name on the sleeve, is that right?
I think if you're in the reading program, but
Yeah,
imagine they
it's
can do
a-
that for you downtown.
Really, yeah.
Yeah,
I thought it said the winner gets that,
the winner gets that.
with
But
the
there's,
sleeve, there's their name on the sleeve.
But
Yeah.
is there a winner every week? right?
No, participation, it says, or what it says, quality completion, high quality completion
Right.
prize, completion prize.
Cool.
and there'll probably be like 20 or 30 kids who complete the
A
program.
high quality completion.
If you always see. Okay.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
You say that differently. You have to think about it.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions of Tara about the program?
No, thanks, great report. Lots of good stuff happening.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay, so under unfinished business. Yeah. We have a proposal to display photo of Ruth Sandvik in the Sandvik room. At the request of community member Joe Sebastian, the library board is asked to consider displaying a photograph of Ruth Sandvik in the Sandvik room. The proposal was introduced last meeting and you guys shut up. Of this. Anyway,
Well, to
Okay.
be fair, we felt we wanted to look again at the policy.
Yes.
okay,
Time
so
to
here's the
talk to
deal,
people,
no
think
discussion
about it.
until we have a motion on the floor, we're gonna make this
That's right.
very. You need a motion on the floor,
Okay,
I
and
so
if,
moved.
and you need to spell it out, what your motion is.
I move to accept Joe's idea there. To put the Ruth's picture up. Where it said, where did it
in
say,
this room.
in this room, yeah, okay.
That's your motion.
I moved to do that.
I'll
I moved
second
to
it.
do that,
to get the discussion.
Okay. So here's my discussion.
Yeah.
I read through everything. And this is how I see it. Mark's the donor. Mark Sandvik is the donor of this room, so he decides what goes in here because he's the one that paid the money. Joe's not donating any money. So he's not a donor. And so he can request it from Mark, but we have no role in it. Our role is that Mark is the donor. I mean, this is my opinion. So there you go. That opens discussion.
Well, so if Mark,
However, we decided on that piece.
Do we?
That's an
Yeah.
art display piece, not a photograph.
what you're saying though is that Mark is the one who should
Yeah.
bring the idea to the board, not somebody who didn't create the room or pay for the room.
Or paper, yeah, didn't make any
So
donation,
it should
right?
be Mark instead of Joe Sebastian or anybody else who comes up with that,
That's what our
and then
policy-
we can discuss.
That's, yeah, that's what. our
Mark,
policy
Mark
says.
or his heirs or a trustee.
Right, that's what our policy says.
Um,
Person that donated the money,
That's what the
For the group.
policy says.
yep,
And as we talked about the last meeting, that conversation was had with Mark Sandvik at the time of the donation when the library was being built, and it was with his cooperation that we did the sign on the door.
And how about the photo then? Has Mark been,
No, because you guys didn't give me direction after the
Yeah,
last meeting,
okay.
and
It's-
I think Marilyn's making a case that,
yeah,
that might be outside of.
it's
what
not
we need to
on
do.
our realm to contact Mark.
it's on Joe's the one who needs to contact Mark, and then Mark decides, and then he contacts us if he wants to do it. Am I reading
And
that
then we
right?
decide if we.
That's-
want to
yeah.
accept.
I
Yes,
like that.
yes,
That makes sense. to
That
me.
makes sense.
How about another thing though? Can you do it like for, say, for like 3 years or 5 years? Or
Oh.
is there any opportunity to? Just for discussion.
we'd have to change the policy.
My other question, I mean, I just wanna say, it feels like it's precedent setting too.
Mhm.
Like, does that mean we need to get a picture of Helmy Jensen?
Well, that's what we ended up
That's what we-
discussing,
yeah.
we digressed into that
Yep,
exact
that's why we
conversation.
tabled it.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, cause that did resonate with me
Mm.
last month of like, oh, right.
Yeah,
So Tara says there's, what did you tell me, 14 main areas?
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to count, but there's at least 14 or 15.
Right, so-
Named areas.
We would be definitely opening,
A can of worms.
thank you. And so we need to consider that. Besides the fact, our policy is pretty clear.
And I would say about the can of worms, looking at the paper, sometimes it's really hard to get a decent picture of someone. Just,
Well, and what Joe's opinion of a decent picture might not be the Sandvik families.
for sure.
And I
Because
don't
of their
remember
mom.
there was
It's,
you had a picture, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a picture that Joe took.
yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like at the hospital or something.
anyway.
Anyway. So, okay, so does anybody else have anything they want to say?
So in summary, we're gonna go back where Tara will go back to Joe and say, Joe, we've discussed the idea, but you need to go back to Mark
Mark,
Yes,
and ask Mark, and Mark can make the proposal.
Depending on how the vote goes here.
And then it comes to the board, and the board decides
Mhm.
after it's been presented by Mark.
And then Mark should also.
So I'm saying
Oh,
that, I'm
sorry.
sorry, I'm saying that on purpose because the ultimate decision still is the board, is that
Absolutely.
correct?
Yes, and Mark should come with a photo
So I'm
that he
trying to-
wants to have. You know, maybe he doesn't like that photo.
So I'm trying to summarize so for the
Yeah.
minutes, so that we know exactly what, and for
Yeah,
Tara,
you know,
to
I
explain
can't
it
pass
to-
on Mark's contact information. I can't pass on people's contact
No,
information.
no.
Given to me. In the context of
Right.
either library business,
Well,
in any kind of
sure.
library business.
It-
And so really, I would almost want to say, rather than saying what Joe should do, I'd be inclined to say Mark would need to contact the library directly.
There you go.
With that
There you
request.
Yes,
That sits well.
That
with
sounds
everybody.
good.
That-
Yeah.
That's one way we can.
After
approach it.
reading over the policy and discussing it, the policy states.
with the photo that he would want to have.
We don't
we
have
don't
to even
don't
say
need
that.
to
okay.
go into that.
They can figure that out.
So basically,
Okay.
the request
Okay.
would need to come from the donor.
Yeah.
Could be a way to
yes.
summarize it.
Ooh, I like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Has to come from the donor or.
Period.
Yeah,
you
But the
know,
donors-
Trustee or.
Or the
uh,
trustee
heirs.
or heirs.
Heirs of the family.
Yeah,
speaking of our policy, and when in the paragraph for named rooms and special use areas, it doesn't say anything at all about artwork or anything in there.
About what?
This brings us about artwork or anything. It just says signage for named spaces shall be prominent and readily identifiable. Lettering shall be scaled appropriate to the aesthetics of the room or to area so named. And that's all that's said about anything beyond the naming of the room. Because this has now been an issue twice, I wonder if we should take a look at this again and spell that out somehow in our policy. Update our policy, because obviously that's an area of non-clarity
Right,
that we need to maybe have more prominent in our policy.
Right.
Because I'm looking through and I don't see anything that actually addresses that, and so we're kind of leaving it to
Nothing that, it doesn't say photograph or artwork
yeah.
or,
establish that photographs or artworks, we do have that policy, have to go through the board. But regarding coming from into a room, this room or Emily Jensen room or a specific area that's under the auspices of someone else who paid for that room,
yeah, or spot or. no-
that should be designated as their province.
Right, but still, board has the ultimate.
Yes.
Yeah,
We can say, yeah, you're not. going
I don't
to
know.
do
That's just a thought. Maybe it's not necessary because we seem
Do
to
you
be,
think that other libraries have something that, is easily accessible to, to put, so you don't have to reinvent?
I can look into it and see. I agree with Marilyn, because now that we can see
Yes.
like what the pattern is starting to look like.
Right.
It probably would be good to address specifically to call it out in this policy. And I was actually planning to do that this spring, but then we ended up with this situation where we were using the policy, and I don't like to amend the policy and use the policy at the same meeting.
Yeah.
no.
That doesn't.
No,
that's not really.
Editing policy is a big job. in
Yes,
of
and this is,
itself.
I'd like to actually simplify this one quite a bit. It's a bit too
Mhm.
much.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we can hopefully, there'll be nothing on the agenda preventing us this fall from taking a really hard look at this.
Perfect.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
So what did we just say?
Okay, so what we said is, we need to have a vote.
On what?
So on Alex's, motion to accept the photograph that Joe Sebastian, submitted to us to put in, Ruth's room. The photograph, that's.
So a yay vote would accept the photo and the nay vote would.
Right, So-
Support the
so-
policy.
all those in favor of Alex's, motion? All those opposed? Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, so 6-1, 6-0.
So now what is the next step is,
Tara will speak to Joe about the policy.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, great. So we're
Thank
moving
you,
right
Tara.
along. Thank you. So we are on the general fund budget request. And, let's see, oh, yes.
I didn't understand this chart, sorry.
No, we're not to the chart yet.
Oh,
We're on page 2. Okay, I got that clarified. So page 2, isn't that where we are? Yeah, in March, the borough manager requested reductions to FY library budget. The revised budget proposal attached here includes the voluntary reduction in the program coordinator position from 40 to 32 hours per week. In addition, we anticipate the loss of $10,000 from IMLS basic grant, which is what is it? IMLS.
Institute for Museum and Library Services.
who is the program coordinator?
It's Kari's position.
That's Kari's.
By voluntary, I mean that this was her suggestion to
Oh.
change her hours.
Oh, so she's okay with
She's
that?
okay with that.
Like it.
Not-
Actually, she's excited.
Yeah.
But no, she's.
To anybody who asks.
Yeah, that's great, as long as she feels that she can do what she needs to do in
We'll
32
scale-
hours
we'll
instead of
scale
40.
back
Yeah.
Okay, good,
duties
right?
appropriately.
Okay,
And then they put in a request for 20,000
Mhm.
submitted to the Marine Passenger Fee Fund. And when do we hear about, no, we don't hear about that until the budget is firm, right?
And they just announced a date for the first work session, which is Thursday, May 1st at 5 PM. I'm not saying you have to go, I will be there.
Okay,
This is the one where Jody does her PowerPoint presentation, it's masterful. And we all are there, Department heads are there to answer questions. It's not a meeting where they will vote on the budget. That happens in readings of the 3 readings of the budget that happen
Okay.
after the work
Mhm.
session, and maybe work sessions, depending on how long it goes.
What percentage is 20,000 of the total marine passenger fee fund?
I don't have that
Oh,
on the
okay.
top of my head. I believe I was told they have $168,000.
About 160, okay.
That might be not quite right. They
That's
have
okay.
plenty is the gist of it.
Well,
It's
our
$5 per
restrooms
day.
are pretty much the public restrooms,
Yeah.
right? So-
Yes. Yes, we sure get a lot of.
Yeah.
Yes.
and then the expected service impacts from the reduction included permanent 4 PM closures on Monday. And then the 27% reduction in the library's collection development budget, and that's a direct result of the getting rid of the libraries and museums.
Mhm.
But I was talking to Tara before it happened, and for us, it's 27%. Where she was saying that some libraries in the state of Glasgow are small enough that they might even have to close.
Village libraries
Mhm,
generally,
mhm.
yeah.
The worst
And
place to lose your.
When I
life.
made the call, you know, I just said this affects us in Petersburg, and if it affects us, which is, you know, a town of 3,000, and that's big, you know, a town of 3,000, you get that bigger reduction. Rural areas, and from my understanding, the budget line for the Institute of Museums and Libraries was 0.0001% of the total budget.
I know, it's
What?
so.
Anyway, so hopefully, maybe we can, I still feel strongly we need to try and get that back. Just for everybody in the country.
How much money is the 27% reduction? I know we said that. last-
$10,000.
I'm sorry, how much?
10,000.
10,000.
Anyway,
Okay, and the total. Let's see. Collection development budget. I don't remember how much it was. Before the cut.
The number is $27,000. That's what we'll spend in the coming year. Normally we spend 37.
down from 37.
So it's now 27,000. Okay,
It's huge cut.
is remaining.
And all the prices of books are going up.
Yeah,
like
there's that.
crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, anybody have questions more of Tara about that? All right,
So-
new business.
There's nothing we need to vote
Not
on,
yet.
not yet, okay.
No, I would like to just highlight that 4 PM. What you're probably gonna hear most about is permanent 4 PM closure.
Oh, right, yeah, I read that,
And
yeah.
a larger cut was expected. This was me negotiating
Good
a little
job.
bit
so
to
thank you.
try and not have us closed on Mondays.
But so why did you pick the morning hours instead of the evening hours?
The kids programs isn't that what we
That's
discussed?
there's actually a bunch of reasons.
Okay.
It's the more heavily used. Our evening hours are not that heavily used.
Oh, I thought the kids came here after school.
After school, yeah, but we will be open till 4, so.
No, but
half
the
an hour
little kids,
with
the
us.
little kids who aren't in school
They'd
yet.
be in the mornings.
Yes,
They'd be in the morning.
and that's why we
Yeah.
decided it was
Yeah,
better to be.
and also
open.
staffing. We don't double staff the evenings.
Okay,
Gotcha. And so we just have more people here to work.
right.
And people are away or sick.
Yeah.
There's someone here to cover the shift and keep us open, but the evenings are quite that simple.
Is Monday evening the least popular time to?
No, it's not necessarily least popular,
Okay,
but it sort of varies depending on the.
yeah,
But if you want to look at other libraries across the state, similar sizes as us, we're open a lot in the evenings, a lot more than a lot of other libraries are. So we're still on par with our peers in the state for being open in the evenings. In fact, we're probably open a little more. A lot of libraries our size are open 2 evenings a week. Because it's harder to staff the evenings.
Yeah.
Just like weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As everybody gets busy.
Mhm.
Okay, new business. Meeting room policy updates, so, Sarah would like us to have a little vote here on this. So there's proposed revision of the meeting room policy is intended to improve privacy, accessibility, and usability for the public. The updated policy has been reorganized into a more straightforward format to better guide users through the process of booking library meeting rooms. This revision also clarifies that the policy applies specifically to public use of the meeting rooms and does not govern internal or library-sponsored use of the space. For the reference, the American Library Association meeting room interpretation of the Library Bill of Rights has been included to support the review process and ensure revised policy aligns with national standards for equitable public access. So,
Third report, that's not in the packet. The
What?
meeting room interpretation of library bill of rights is not in the packet.
Oh. so what we should do here
Sorry about
is
that.
we should have another motion on the floor, please, before we discuss.
I move to accept the revised meeting room policy packet as written by Tara.
A second?
Okay, so
Okay,
discussion.
so is
And-
this the revised one which you included in the packet?
Yeah, the first one is the revised one. Page
This is the
14.
current one.
Yeah, and the
Yep.
current one is page 15.
So that would be page 14 and 15. Right,
Did somebody second Uzzi's motion?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mary Ellen did.
Mary Ellen did.
yeah.
Oh,
So,
so this is the new one, I got it, okay, 14 is the new one.
so I did have one question here, Tara. So on page 15, where it's the rules and regulations that were approved in 2022. Down where it says all meeting room users must abide by the library's customer code of conduct. So when they're filling out the application, you know, for this, is that somewhere close that they can access?
Yeah, if they're filling the
Okay.
application out online, you have to, there's a click. And you
Perfect,
have
that's
to,
what I
and if you're at the front desk, it's posted at the front desk.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I have a question. If you look at the calendar on the library website, like tonight, there's a Lighthouse meeting,
Mhm.
but it's not on the calendar, and that is
It's
because
not a library program.
It's a private meeting.
It's a
They booked
private
the
meeting.
Room for a
Okay,
private
yes.
meeting.
If it was a library event, it would be on the calendar.
if it were,
A library event.
and what makes it a library event?
The library sponsoring it,
Yeah,
where
Library
this
staff.
is the Lighthouse,
I
it's a
see.
place to hold a meeting.
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
right, okay,
It's up to them to do their own advertising.
right, and they have,
And so they probably put it on the KFSK calendar,
it
community
is,
calendar.
it is, and they've got posters also.
Yeah.
Okay, so any other further discussion?
I like the layout. It looks
Yeah, I like
user
it
friendly
too.
right off the bat.
Yeah.
Are there any substantive changes that you? would
Yeah,
like
that's
to
what I was
point
trying to
out?
figure out.
you know, there really are not any major changes, mostly.
Little tweaking of specifics like,
Tweaking and
time.
changing of wording
okay,
so that it is more. It's easier for staff to follow it and for people who use the words to understand. Yeah, but
Yeah, I like it. I think it's easier to understand.
yeah,
Cleaner.
because it's like a little how to use the rooms document.
Mhm.
But it wasn't really written that way. It was written more like a policy before, so I wanted
Yeah,
to make
This
it a
is
little
nice.
straightforward, but the crux of it is the same. Apologies again for not including the meeting rooms, the interpretation of the library bill of rights document for you, because really what's worth knowing here is the very first point. Library meeting rooms are available to individuals and groups on an equitable basis regardless of beliefs, affiliations, or any other distinguishing characteristics, including religious or political groups. So basically, our meeting rooms, just like our books and our DVDs, are
Right.
the overarching intent is accessibility and equitable access regardless of point of view.
For everyone.
So what you're saying is a religious and or a political group could book a room.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be on the library calendar necessarily, because it's not a library.
No, these particular room bookings would not be on the library calendar.
Yeah.
It's a member of the public booking for whatever use they would like, but we don't discriminate based on political affiliation. We have these uses of the room are happening, yeah. Religious and political groups use our room.
Is there any group that you would say, I'm sorry, but no, we won't, nothing, but,
Yeah.
okay?
No,
Unless they in the past they've abused
Okay.
the,
Yes,
exactly.
right,
And they violate our
Not
code of
allowed.
Right,
conduct.
okay.
Yeah, they violate the library's code of conduct.
Yeah,
That is what would trigger
right,
limitations on use of the room.
okay.
We have a-
And
And then it's up to the staff or the director
Yes,
to make that decision.
yeah, and if
Yeah.
it became contentious in any way, then that's when it would come to you guys, which is why I just wanted to highlight that particular point.
Right,
Because
'cause we-
it's always been in the policy,
Mhm.
but it's probably it's probably the one that would affect you guys. That you might encounter in your
Mhm.
role as board members more often than the other things, which are more about staff, how staff manage use of the room. Okay.
So what do we as a board do if this hasn't happened? This is, if somebody says to one of us, I don't like what the what groups are in the library meeting room.
Then don't go.
Well, yeah, well,
Then you
or
just
just-
tell them,
no,
don't
but
go
let-
then.
well, I
You
can,
you can say they can read the
Right,
policy.
Online.
Oh, yeah, there's a more
Yeah.
appropriate answer.
and
Thank
this
you.
is
More
not,
than like, not so reactionary.
if you don't like the TV show, don't watch it.
Right, but mainly they can come and see why everybody's allowed. They
Everyone
can
is
read our
allowed
policies.
to make it equitable.
Just one other question, that little spot you have by the door that says who's in there would there be a sign up there if it's not a library?
If
Like
it's a-
tonight, the lighthouse, is there gonna be a sign that says?
If the lighthouse requested that their name, lots of people book these rooms for private things, so they.
Yes.
Know what's going on in the room.
Right,
So it's up to the person booking the room to decide whether or not they want that.
okay,
that Poster or not.
okay.
Yeah.
So would there be a, like a, I don't know, what I wanna say, a little stand thing that, do we have a little stand thing where they could just slip a thing in?
Yeah, it's by the door.
Yeah,
That,
acrylic sign
Yeah.
holders by the doors.
It's.
I don't mean back by the, but I mean at the front of the library, saying, you know, right when they first come in where it says, the lighthouse.
Yeah, there's a
meeting.
poster there.
Well, there's one on the bulletin board,
Yes.
but
Okay.
we don't really have like a directional sign or
That's
anything
what I
like
mean,
that.
that's,
for
you know, for
non-memorable
when, for
stuff.
the night of the meeting is what I
Yeah.
mean.
No, people just ask at the front desk.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll let them know.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
How's it going there if it's a 2 per week?
The what?
Operationally, there was a time when, tour groups were kind of
Oh, that's
using it, and then,
right.
so we put in this individual
Yes,
2 per week. Is anybody calling up like the 1st of May and booking out?
No, we have an occasional person who wants to use the room a lot, which is why and sometimes that's fine if the room's not being
Yeah.
used. But in terms of booking it out for 8 weeks, no, we haven't had that problem. But it's nice to have this as a fallback.
Yeah.
That happens.
Mhm.
To stop any one person or group from monopolizing use of the room, because these rooms are very busy. I
They're
think
very busy.
busier all the time. Yeah.
And the direct sales fundraising and charging fees, how's that handled? Like there's, I mean, because the writers group.
Wait, you're going, moving along. Are you
Yes.
still on item A?
no,
No, I moved
You're
over to
right, so we haven't
financial.
voted yet.
oh,
Oh, okay, so.
So
it's a-
I'm calling for
a
the,
vote on what?
we're voting to accept the meeting room policy updates.
This is
No,
a
this is
use
still
of
under-
responsibility.
Yeah, that's under
That's a-
uses,
Oh.
use and responsibility.
So I can address Alex's question. This is why we've changed this to public use of the meeting rooms, because the writers workshops where people pay a fee
Yes.
are library use of the meeting rooms.
Oh, right.
So we've,
So that's
So say
that's our doing.
Say that
Yes.
again,
so,
Tara.
Okay.
individuals and groups who book the room. Where did that one go? Direct sales, fundraising and charging fees is prohibited. For people,
That was in the
Yeah,
old
so-
one.
yeah, that's in this one too.
Oh, and
It
Well,
is
how about
number
if
3,
somebody's,
You can't have your pampered chef meeting here,
oh,
you know?
Or
because-
Tupperware.
Or
Or your
Tupperware,
Tupperware party.
to sell something.
Well,
Well,
how
how
about-
about a place to set up your sales?
well, how about the book sale where we're collecting money?
That
This
is a
is-
library.
It's a library use of the meeting room.
Okay,
Yeah, so that's why we pulled those two policies apart, just so that's very clear.
So if you wanna consort with Kari and make it a library gig, then. be
And we would handle the money, we would handle the cash transactions, and it wouldn't be the sale of stuff. It would be, $10 for a writing workshop or something like that. It would be a program fee, not
yeah,
selling stuff.
right, right.
For yoga or,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a library.
cool. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
Not that complicated.
now, back to the vote.
Aye.
So we're voting
we're
on the
voting-
whole
We're
thing,
voting
not
on
just
the
the first.
proposed revision of the meeting room policy.
Yeah, it looks really good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we've accepted it, Tara. Now moving on to the art
This is not good
education down.
Nicely done, by the way.
So the classes that are being offered are, and that actually, this is another one where we need to vote to expand, what's the word I'm looking for? Get to move the funds.
Okay, so do we want to make a proposal to accept?
We need to.
And then
we
to
will
open
need-
the discussion?
Sure,
I move that we accept the art endowment funding requests as listed.
I seconded.
okay,
Now we can discuss.
there we can.
Following programs are presented.
I think all these programs
Oh.
are fantastic.
Yes, they
I'm
do.
just drooling.
And
Yeah.
our community is so lucky that we have this kind of programming and I'm all in favor.
Yeah. And how can we spend more money? Okay, so that's, so I asked Tara to let us know what our, how much money is available
Oh,
for us
that's
to
it.
spend. And she's gonna tell us, and then how much we're spending and how
Yeah.
much we have left.
Yeah, so there's $19,800 available in the spendable balance
Ooh.
of the art education
Yeah,
endowment.
okay.
What we're requesting in this request today is $3,220 worth of
Mhm.
grants from the fund. After, if this is approved, 16,580 will remain in
Mhm.
the spendable balance.
Okay.
And the spendable balance is replenished every year, not to the tune of $16,000 a year, but I believe to the tune of about $4,000 to $5,000 a year.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
the fund
we're
is still
done.
the spendable balance is still healthy after this
Yeah.
expansion, right?
Is this the
Right.
first one that we've had this year? The first-
No, there was one earlier in the year too, and we're just about this weekend to wrap up the last program, and at the next
Okay.
meeting, I'll report on
Good,
all those
okay,
programs.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so all those in favor of spending the money from our endowment art education endowment fund for the classes this time.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. And I have to admit, I was wrong. We never did talk about your budget.
I know, that's why I was.
But what the question you were asking, Barb, is
I
I went in and asked Tara. Well, it was, but I mean, if you want to talk about this.
What's his actual
Just
adopted?
then I was talking, yeah.
yeah, I did a call with Karen.
I was in the store again and I said, I want to ask you this before the whole board, because I go and feel stupid, but what is actual adopted?
That's
I
what
mean,
I was getting.
anyway, so she told me she got the years.
Oh,
FY 22, FY 23, FY 24,
Yeah,
and the current year, and then.
yeah,
Okay, so the final column is what has actually been
That's
submitted.
right.
This one.
Is up for discussion.
Got it.
I
Okay.
know, and I was like,
Okay.
and then Tara went, oh, they're on that shit, so it wasn't, I wasn't
Okay.
being silly.
No,
or
you weren't.
stupid. Okay, so. Does anybody have any, we don't have any questions because we've done what she had to do. Okay, so the next thing is, I'm gonna.
It won't take me that long.
Well, it's okay, I'll go, if I slip out, you can keep, yeah.
Okay, I just got the final figures from Denise as far as what was in the cash box. We did really well on whatever day that was, Saturday. There was $704.50 taken in total.
That's a great.
And of that, silent auction was 353. No, it wasn't 373. So putting items in the silent auction, that doesn't include the paintings. That was $1,200 total.
wow.
So it is paid off having a silent auction. It's just,
Is it safe to say that accounts for 50% of the sales?
yes.
The numbers you just-
Yes, but out of the $704.50, 373 were from the silent auction. I've got all the bid sheets.
That's great.
And if anybody wants, some of the bid sheets are really interesting because people are bidding against each other. And a lot of times people will not start at the minimum bid, they'll up it, which is, it's interesting the way people bid. That's.
That's nice, they're trying
Yeah,
to support the library.
That's right, and if the minimum bid is $5 and the second person puts in $30, instead of just $5.50 or.
They want it
They really want it.
and make a donation.
Grudge bidding, I call it.
Well, whatever, yeah, but we had so many books, and thanks to the library, we had more Alaska books than we've ever had. And and so we've got quite a few still there, and I've seen a lot of people, and I've been here putting books on the shelves. They're at that Alaska section. It's really, really interesting. Anyway, we had so many books that we filled up all the carts that we usually have. I wrote down a number. We had 23 chairs with boxes of books on them. Because we filled up the carts, and then we just would put books in boxes and put them on the chairs, so they're not on the floor. It was amazing, really was. And we have lots of puzzles. So the October sale will be Christmas in October. We'll have lots of puzzles and whatever else comes in.
What is the policy? Okay, so my mom just passed away, and when I was packing up
Okay.
stuff that I was gonna bring home, there was some art that, none of the kids wanted, blah, 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 and it's Canadian Eskimo
That's okay.
prints.
We had, okay, what did you give me?
I don't know if
Four.
Eskimo is the proper term
Wouldn't you-
anymore, but that's what it's, at the time it was sold, that's what it was.
If you want to donate it, then we can put it in the silent auction, and we had 4, I think. There were 2 photographs, old photographs. There was a painting by Janine Gibbons, which we also had 2 books that she illustrated, so we did that as a package.
I'll take over.
And people were bidding on it, and it does bring it in, and we'll
Okay,
have it
that's
in the
okay.
next, but
That's
yeah,
what I
donate
wanted
them.
to do.
Yeah. And we had one that was a flag that it was a, when Alaska became a state, it would have I can't remember exactly, but that went for $50.
Yeah.
And we just had somebody in, we had a few books on military, and there was an airplane picture or something. Somebody just happened to come that was interested in that sort of thing, so they all went.
Great.
You know, it's just, and something you think that may not sell. Okay, there were 4 books on how to clean up your house. And what's that lady's name?
Con Mari.
Yeah, it's 4 different books. So we put them all together in a pile, silent auction, minimum bid $5. We got $20 for them.
Somebody was really laughing about buying 5 books about minimizing your.
Yes, I know. They bought the whole pile.
That's hysterical.
So in answer to your question is, bring it.
Bring it.
Yeah.
Bring it.
Okay,
And,
I will
yes.
bring them. They're very fragile.
Great.
Just
If you
because
want
people
to call
shop
me
and
when
they
you,
like to clean it up.
I can meet you
Two
here.
different
Mark
things.
Kubo and ask if he would donate just, you know,
Oh.
putting them on a piece of cardboard and
Yeah.
shrink wrapping it so that they're
Ooh.
protected,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
they're
that'd be
like
great.
thin rice paper.
Mhm.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, that would be
recommend that.
They're
wonderful.
beautiful,
Yeah,
yeah.
What do you think? Any idea what they'd be worth? Well, we.
Well,
mean,
I think
looked
that's
at
a
auction.
discussion for the.
That's-
friends.
so, so I think we need to talk about next meeting.
Yes.
Need to move
Yeah.
on.
Okay,
So I would recommend that we definitely do that and discuss it with your
Yes.
friends.
yes.
Thank you. Okay, next meeting tentatively scheduled for May 27th at noon. May 27th.
Isn't that- Oh, we have to, we don't, okay.
No, May 27th, I'll be in Andrew
That's
Send her a message.
graduation day,
and not able to.
isn't it?
Okay. Yeah, we're getting into summer there, so
Yeah.
we'll see if we can even get a quorum, or if we have business.
Right, if there's no business.
Yeah.
We can.
We meet as needed.
Yeah,
As needed.
that's right.
I'll let you know if we need to meet as needed.
Okay.
And I'm usually needed by Chelsea on Tuesdays. But it's all depending on other people's schedules right now, and they're doing their summer schedules update, John, will start today. So I'll go later.
Okay.
But that's just me. All right, so any other comments before we adjourn? Make a motion to adjourn. Yes, we are very happy to have you back.
It's nice to see
Yeah.
you. Not on Zoom.
Are you back in your, oh, well, we should adjourn
No.
first.
Yeah, we won't ask that question.
Do we take a vote to adjourn or do we just?
Somebody usually makes a motion.
I
made
move
a
that we adjourn. Oh, you already did. I
Okay.
second it.
All right, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. Okay.
No, we're staying at Kevin Shig's house for now.